Welcome to another MECH 1000 video. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a polar array. So we've looked at rectangular arrays before, and a rectangular array is basically a pattern consisting of rows and columns. A polar array is another pattern, but it is oriented about a center point, so it's arranged in a circular pattern. So if I were to make a circle, for instance, here, I'm going to rotate it about the origin. And so I'm going to create a polar array. I select the polar array command, and the command line asks me to select objects. So I'll select the circle that I'm going to turn into an array and finish my selection with a right click. And then I need to choose a base point. Now this is where some students get confused. They feel like they have to choose a point on the circle itself. But if you choose the center point of the circle, then your array isn't going to go anywhere. It's just going to be a bunch of circles stacked on top of each other. So you need to choose some point away from the object that you are going to array. So I'll choose the origin. And you see that's the center point. It creates this circular pattern of circles that go around it. And just like with rectangular arrays, AutoCAD does this, what I feel is kind of an annoying thing, of guessing how many items you want in your array. So it guessed 6. Maybe that's correct. Maybe it's not. I suppose with the polar array, it might have a slightly higher odds of guessing right. But let's say I wanted to make 12, like the numbers on a face of a clock. So it automatically assumes that I want to go all the way around, one full rotation. That's the fill angle of 360 degrees. And it evenly divides that 360 degrees into 12 sections to get 30 degrees between each item. But we can change that. Maybe we don't want to go all the way around a full rotation. Maybe we only want half a rotation, 180 degrees. And maybe instead of going counterclockwise like that, we want it to go the other way, so we can flip the direction and make it go clockwise. So we can change direction. We can change the number of items in the array, and we can change the fill angle. Just like with our rectangular arrays, we can make them associative or not associative. I recommend having them associative, so you're going to want that to be highlighted. Close your array, and the reason for that is because if it's associative, you can go back and edit the settings of the array. You can say, oh, you know what? Actually, I don't want 12 items, I just want 6. Or whatever the case may be. Or I didn't want it to go counterclockwise, I wanted it to go clockwise the other way. So as long as it remains associative, you can make changes to the array. Now if you need to edit any of these items, let's say I want to, haven't told you how to use the trim command yet, have I? Let's just say I want to delete one of these items from the array. If I try to click on it, I can't do that because it highlights the entire array. So if you have an associative array, which kind of leaves them grouped together, the way you can break them apart is with the explode command. On the Home tab, Modify Toolbar, I can choose Explode, I can click on the array, and then hit Enter to execute the command. Now it doesn't really look like anything has happened, but it has, because now I can select individual items from that array, and I can modify them. I can delete them, or move them, or whatever it is I need to do with them. Let's make this time a rectangle instead of a circle so that I can demonstrate that if I want to make an array of this rectangle, a polar array of this rectangle about the origin, by default, AutoCAD rotates the item every time it gets duplicated so that it's like facing towards the center of the array at all times. But you can change that if you want to. Up here where it says rotate items, you can turn that feature off. And so that leaves the items in the array oriented in the same way every time. So laying flat horizontally in this case. So depending on the needs of your array, you might want to keep all the items oriented the same way. More often than not, though, you do want them to rotate each time they are copied. Okay, so I think that's the main features you need to know in order to start making polar arrays. Just remember, it's important to choose the center point of your array correctly. In fact, let me show you here. If instead of choosing the origin, if I had made an array of this rectangle and I maybe chose a point on the rectangle itself, see, it rotates itself about that point. That may or may not be what you want. It's probably not. So choosing the center point of the array is critical. That's the most common mistake I see when people are having problems creating a polar array. The most likely culprit is they're not giving enough thought ahead of time about where to choose that center point. If I make an array here and instead of choosing the midpoint there, I'm off by a little bit. See, I kind of end up with this slightly skewed array, which may or may not be what I want. So just take care when choosing the center point of the array, and I think that should just about do it.